For myself, the actual awakening, it was scary. It was really scary because I felt like I was gonna die. And it was like I was pushing through this barrier, this energetic barrier. I remember it. I'm like, if I push through it, like it's like I'm going to the other side. Like I'm not coming back to my body. But I pushed through it. And when I pushed through it, I realized I feel really called to make this video because I have been feeling the Kundalini energy within me awakening again. This is actually a question that I get a lot from my students, and when I talk about my experience with Kundalini, I think this really confuses a lot of people because you can have a Kundalini awakening followed by a spiritual awakening. Like when you have a Kundalini awakening, you are gonna have a spiritual awakening, but you can have a spiritual awakening without a Kundalini awakening. So in this video, we are gonna dive into what is a spiritual awakening versus a Kundalini awakening and some things that you can do to help assist you get through a Kundalini awakening. Because guys, I've been through 3 of them spontaneously, meaning I did not mean to trigger them. It just happened through energy work. So let's dive into the video. Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel, and hello if you are new. My name is Andrea Johnson. I'm a Reiki master and energy work practitioner, a manifestation coach, and a psychic development teacher. Welcome to the Good Vibe Tribe. Welcome to another episode of Conscious Coffee Talks, where we discuss a topic to expand our consciousness and improve our lives. So guys, first off, let's go over the definitions of what's a spiritual awakening versus a Kundalini awakening. So in a spiritual awakening, this is when an individual realizes that they are more than just their body. They are more than just the ego. It's almost like your reality gets shaken up a little bit. And this could be caused by a trauma where it causes you to really question your life and what you're doing and your purpose. Could be caused by just lower level frequencies and depression, and you don't understand why you're not happy. Could be both, or it could just be you questioning the existence of what you are and what your interconnectedness is to everything and all that is in the universe. Me, I kind of had all 3 of those things happen, but essentially a spiritual awakening is realizing that you are more than just a human. You are a spiritual being having a spiritual experience. You are connected to something greater than yourself, and with a spiritual awakening, it's not just knowledge that you know in your head, it's you feel it in your body. You have felt an out-of-body experience almost. Something has happened to where you have felt the knowing that you are connected to more than just yourself, that you are more than just this body. So that's my best definition of a spiritual awakening. I'll probably pop something on what Google says, if maybe it will relate to more of you beautiful souls. Now let's go into what a Kundalini awakening is. Kundalini is the female earthly energy. The way it's described in text is that it's a serpent-like energy that is found at the base of the spine. Everybody has this energy dormant in them essentially, and it's by or in front of the sacral chakra. This energy lies dormant until it is awakened, and that is when it is released. They call it a Kundalini awakening. When this energy wakes up, essentially, it is to cause an immense transformation within the individual. Literally, like body, mind, spirit. Once this thing is awoken, there is no turning back on having to live out your soul's purpose. It is there. It is a tool to assist the individual in helping the soul's expansion here on earth, the mission, whatever the individual's soul wants to complete their purpose, right? It is there to assist you to get there by clearing out energies in your life and in your chakra system that are not working towards this soul purpose, this goal. This is completely different than a spiritual awakening because a Kundalini awakening is felt inside the body. It is a very physical experience. It is an event, is what I call it. It is actually very scary. especially if you don't know what is going on, like myself when this first happened. So the best way that I can describe what this is just me describing my experience. And this is a whole nother video on how it happened, the 3 times that it did happen, but I'm gonna describe what it feels like. And this is research that I've done too, like afterwards, because I was trying to piece together what had happened, because this was not normal. This is something that was totally metaphysical, and this is why I am 100% behind energy work, and I believe in what I do, and I know the energy because I experienced it. But this awakening taught me so much about the energy, and that we are so much more than this body, because there's no denying the experience that you have. You cannot undo the knowing that you had after a Kundalini awakening, because it is a very physical experience with your body, with your mind, and with spirit. You actually come into contact with God. And that's where I believe that when people question the Kundalini awakening, like, did I have one or not? You 100% know, because you come into your full knowing that you are God consciousness, that you are God in a body. You cannot not undo what you have experienced. I'm gonna try to explain this the best way that I can, but essentially what happens is it unleashes itself and it shoots up your spine. So it shoots up the light column in the middle of your spine. This is one of the nadis, one of the main channels in your energy system. So this is what it's for, is to shoot up Kundalini. And when Kundalini shoots up, it's gonna clear out every single chakra. So it hits every single chakra and it stops at the heart. When it does this, it clears out the chakras in an instant. And this is one of the reasons why it is different than a spiritual awakening, and we'll get more into that, is it literally happens in a second or a couple seconds and you are crystal clear. It stops at the heart, and from that it clears out the heart, which then is when you come into the full knowing that you are God consciousness. And then it like comes out through the top of your head. It's almost like it explodes at the heart and comes out through the top of your head, and it like rains down over your body. It's like a fire that rains down over your body is the best way, and like sparks and tingles. I don't know, that's just the best way that I can describe it. But it literally shoots out the top of your head, and this causes immense transformation in one's life. And this is actually very dangerous if you're not ready for it, because of the aftermath that happens. For me, what it felt like was when I was in meditation, what initially triggered it was energy work and meditation. So it felt like at first, like there was like immense tingles in my base chakra, and it felt very, very weird. So I was like, okay, well, I feel the energy, like, okay, cool. So it started picking up and getting really intense, and I noticed my breathing pattern started changing. So when this was happening, I started to actually separate my consciousness from my physical body. So I kept separating, and I started actually getting scared because it felt like I was literally gonna die, like I was going to leave my body. And it initially, like, I felt my consciousness separate from my body, but the message that I kept getting was like, it's okay, like you're not gonna die, nothing's gonna happen to you. This was the amount of surrender that I had to do in order for Kundalini to actually release. Like, you have to have an immense amount of surrender, because if you don't, it's not going to release. It has to feel safe enough to actually shoot up. And this is the problem I feel like most people have, especially when trying to awaken it. You have to like surrender. That's the best way, that you have to surrender to the energy. You don't control it at all. And this is where I feel most people, when they try to set the intention of releasing Kundalini, they block it because they're trying to force something. And therefore, whenever you try to force it, and it's like you block your manifestation, right? So you have to actually just set the intention and let go and just see what happens. But ultimately, like every time that Kundalini has shot off for me, which is 3 times, it's been spontaneous. And I feel like it was spontaneous because I wasn't trying. So that's the message that I got. Like, I literally had to surrender so much to where I disconnected from my body, which is what really happened. And then my body started breathing in a certain way. It started breathing in a certain pattern. And it was like, and the message I kept getting was just let go, just let the body do its thing, because the body is so intelligent that it already knew what was going on. My higher self knew what was going on more than what my conscious awareness knew at the moment, right? So I just had to let go and surrender to whatever the body was going to do. So it started breathing in a really weird way, in a pattern. I started to feel fire. So it started actually in my ears, started to ring, and then it almost felt like it started to, like, whenever somebody lights a match, like a whoosh, that's the exact sound that I heard, and it felt like a flame, or it sounded like a flame, like whoosh, like that. Like, that's the best way that I could describe it. So as soon as I heard that sound, then this energy just shot up, like it was a wave almost. Some people say they feel it shoot up their spine, but it like literally lit up my entire body like with a wave, and it hit each chakra. So when it passed over each chakra, there was a little pop. There was like little pops, and you feel it, like it moved me, it pushed me, and my body was rocking back and forth, and like I was moving around like this, and I could not control my body movements. And come to find out that these were later called kriyas, and it's uncontrollable movement in your body. That's the energy just doing its thing, and you cannot stop it. I could not stop moving. When the energy released, it shot up, popped all of my chakras. Literally, you feel them pop. And then it stopped at my heart. When it stopped at my heart, and it said, listen. And then I got a message from God, like literally got message, like my heart spoke to me. It literally came out of my chest, and then it exploded after I got my message. I will cry if I go into that. That's a whole nother video. So once I came into contact with God in my heart, that was the portal, it opened up. And from that, like it literally exploded to the point of where like it like made me push forward, and then the rest of it shot up. When it shot up, it came out of my head. There was like a fountain of energy coming over my body. It was like raining fire, it felt like. And then these like antennas popped out of the side of my temples, is what it felt like. Like literally it was like electricity going out like that, and they felt like antennas. It was really weird. And then like these beings came in, and literally, guys, like I know this sounds crazy as shit, but the whole experience was crazy as shit. These beings came in and they started doing like a psychic surgery on my energy body and my third eye. They basically like decalcified it, awakened it, whatever you want to call it. There was some crazy shit that happened. That is what a Kundalini, at least my experience from a Kundalini awakening was. You come into the full knowing that you are God, essentially, and there is no going back. Now, I have a little bit of a theory behind this too, of how this relates to like in metaphorical terms in the Bible, of like the apple of knowledge and the serpent giving, you know, the apple to Eve. I truly believe that the serpent is Kundalini, and that is the knowledge that man has in them. Like it literally, like you come into the full knowing of who you are, and so it kind of like I don't want to say spoils the point of life, but then it's, you have all the answers now, and you understand that you are God in a body. Once Kundalini is released, you have to live out your soul's purpose. There is no going back. You cannot not do it, because you will feel such discomfort in your life. The event itself happens once. It gets released one time, and you can have Kundalini risings and fallings. The energy works throughout your body your entire life. You know, I think that's kind of similar in a spiritual awakening, in the fact that you can have awakenings all throughout your life, like big ones, little ones, whatever. But Kundalini, it's very physical inside the body, and that's one of the most distinct differences between a Kundalini awakening and a spiritual awakening. Kundalini, it is very physical. You will not mistake it. That is what I think is the difference between a spiritual and a Kundalini awakening, is the amount of physicalness that a Kundalini awakening causes. Spiritual, it's more mental, emotional, and there is some physical aspects that come along with spiritual awakening, but it's not as fast, and your chakras don't get unblocked the way that they do with a Kundalini like in an instant. Not just the physical aspect of it, but the spiritual awakening, you can have ascension symptoms because you're literally processing energy, you're processing emotions, you're releasing emotions, it's a lot of inner work, and that can be very draining. And whenever you release energy and you're raising your vibration, the physical body has to get adapted to it. It has to adjust to it, and essentially you're changing your DNA. So you're gonna go through some flu-like symptoms, and this is what they call ascension symptoms. So I have gone through this with a spiritual awakening, and especially whenever doing energy work with like Reiki or like taking courses and becoming attuned to Reiki. I went through this with all of my trainings with energy work and even psychic development, because you're up-leveling your energy body. So therefore, when you pull more light into the body, you're going to be changing physically. You're changing on all levels, right? And it's not as intense as a Kundalini awakening, the symptoms of the aftermath that happens. What I tell my students to look out for with the ascension symptoms of Reiki, it's, emotions that come up. You get flu-like symptoms. You may get super tired, energy releases, as far as like feeling physically different in your body, like all those things can be symptoms with a Kundalini awakening. They explain it as like it was really painful, as far as like they literally had what felt like detox symptoms of detoxing from a drug that they would go through. Some people were sick for weeks. Some people were sick for a couple weeks, like bedridden, couldn't do anything. They lost touch with the physical world, which is very common. They go through a lot of psychosis symptoms because your third eye is very open. And this is where it can get dangerous. So it's very important to actually have maybe some assistance and not do these things intentionally. For myself, the actual awakening, it was scary. It was really scary because I felt like I was gonna die. And literally, you feel like you're gonna die. And it was like I was pushing through this barrier, this energetic barrier. I remember it. I'm like, if I push through it, like it's like I'm going to the other side. Like I'm not coming back to my body. But I pushed through it, and when I pushed through it, I realized that death was an illusion and that we don't die. Like that's another experience. But anyway, I didn't have any physical pain other than the fire that like lit up my body, and there were sparks that was kind of uncomfortable, and the pops and the moving around, like it all just was very uncomfortable. And I think a lot of that was because I didn't have control over what I was doing, and I was really scared. But there was like, I was scared, but there was like a comforting voice and a comforting feeling of like nothing bad's gonna happen, so just trust and surrender. So that's essentially what I had to do. Now afterwards, I didn't really get sick like a lot of people do. Some people go through, like I said, detox symptoms, but for me, what I ended up going through was a lot of emotional crap. I had to work through a lot of emotional crap that I had stored, and I experienced some pretty epic psychic experiences, like lucid dreaming, coming into contact with beings. This is where I met my interdimensional family. It actually like ignited some, I want to say spiritual gifts, but it like kicked off or triggered some of my psychic abilities, you want to say. I do this because we all have them, but I just did not know, like they weren't activated yet, and this activated them. So then I started seeing energy all around me. This is when I started seeing auras very clearly, energy in the room. I still do, but it's not like after Kundalini awakening, I didn't have to try. I like would wake up and I would just like see auras and shit. But now I have to actually get into a little bit of a meditative state to actually see them pop up. So I was very open. I was a very open channel, and this attracted a lot of beings, a lot of, I don't want to say darkness, but like you get the good and the bad, essentially. Bad. You get the lower level frequencies that are attracted to your light too, especially if you're brand new at this. And that's what happened to me. So there was like no filter or barrier that I could feel like I had control over, until I started actually learning about this. And then I started to shut down my third eye because of how intense the experiences got. That scared me. So I just had a lot of third eye activity. And this is where people need to be careful, and where I've talked to people who have had Kundalini awakenings and have like paid gurus to trigger it, where they almost get to a point of like psychosis and so disconnected from reality that it's hard for them to exist. And 100% that's what happened to me. I don't think that I got on the border of psychosis, but I found it very difficult to live in a normal human life. I felt very disoriented, even in my body. I felt like I wasn't here. You start actually, like, I started seeing geometric shapes and patterns everywhere. Like, you would look at just like a stoplight and you could see the geometric like makeup of a stoplight. I remember like looking at just objects and seeing how they were made of energy, and it was absolutely insane. It was hard for me to focus, and during this time I meditated like 2 hours a day. This was during lockdown, so I meditated for like 2 hours a day, which that's all I really wanted to do. So this is something that is like very different from a spiritual awakening, as you gradually build up your, I want to say your light, or gradually build up your skills, or make changes in your life. And so it's like, it's easier. I don't want to say easier, but it feels more gentle. A spiritual awakening is like almost like your entire life. It feels like you have big awakenings, you have little awakenings, and they're like little shifts in your reality. But with Kundalini, like there's a huge shift, and there is like, it's like hits you in the face. It's not gentle at all, like a spiritual awakening. With spiritual awakenings, like you can, it helps your psychic abilities, raise your vibration, things like that. But with a Kundalini, it's like instantly, because you've cleared your chakras, like crystal clear. And this is where it forces you to make movement in your life, because reality is created from the inside out. So your new vibration is going to start manifesting in your physical reality. So things not of that similar vibration are going to start finding themselves to fall out of your life. And this is where people are forced to make big life transformations, because of the level of discomfort that they feel that, their external world is bringing them. So let's go over some things that can help assist you in a Kundalini awakening, and also therefore a spiritual awakening. These can be applied across the board. These are some things that I found that helped me when I needed it. So tip number 1 is ground. This is super important, guys. In a spiritual awakening and a Kundalini awakening, most likely you are not in your body. You are not present. You are like in the other realms, in your mind, experiencing psychic abilities, like all these things. And it is very difficult to live a human life. Don't get me wrong. It is kind of fun at some points. Sometimes it's not so much fun. It's intense, but get yourself grounded. So in order to do this, drink a lot of water, get out in nature, connect with the earth, do human shit. Okay, that is the best thing, in which the message that I got was like, be human, like do human shit. And this was like eating, hanging out with human people, like, trying to connect to being human. Your energy has to be in your body. The body will not be able to function right. So you have to find that balance between being a human and being a spiritual being. And this is the beauty of being human, is the whole point of being here. You have a body, right? So you have to be in it. Another thing that helped me was to get into my meditative practice. Especially at this point, like meditation was really strong, and I had a lot of spiritual experiences because of how open I was during this time. But it also helped me to tame my brain. It really helped me control the thoughts. It helped me control the experiences, and ultimately helped me shut it down because it became too much. I had some of the greatest awakenings, awarenesses, knowings in this time of my life, and these meditations that I was having. I could hold meditation for an hour or more. It was easy. It was crazy how focused my brain and how disciplined my brain and my mind were. Another thing that helped me during this time was physical movement. Physical movement helped me connect to my body. It helped move the energy in my body because you're going to be going through a lot of emotional transformations. I did a lot of yoga during this time, and I did dance. I got into running as well too, again, during this time. So whatever I could do to move energy in my body, it helped me process the energy because there's going to be a lot of crap coming up. So movement is medicine, and it helps you connect to your body as well too, especially with the Kundalini energy. It is the feminine energy, so you find that more sacral chakra work really helps during this time. So I did a lot of pole dancing. I did a lot of Zumba, or like the hip movements, that really helped. And then in yoga, I was doing a lot of hip work. So whatever I could do to open up my hips to release the emotions that were stored there, because the hips are the emotional storage house of the body. So I was processing a lot of energy. So movement is medicine. Another thing that can help you is to find a teacher, do your research, do some reading, whatever you can, try to learn about what you are going through. During this time, the energy is going to assist you. Like, that is just what's going to happen. So this is when I say Reiki found me, because it helped explain to me what had happened. Because guys, during this time too, I had no idea what Reiki was. And this is where I say, like, the seriousness of this and how real it is, because I did not know what Reiki was. I did not know what Kundalini was. I barely knew what a freaking chakra was. The only reason I knew about it was because of yoga. Understand what these things are and understand your connection to the body, mind, spirit. So this is where Reiki came into my life, and it was through a friend that was like, hey, like, I see you're really into yoga. Have you tried Reiki yet? I'm like, what the heck is that? So I ended up finding a teacher in my area, and I went and actually physically spent a whole day taking Reiki level 1 and 2 course, and that taught me so much about my experience and what the energy was and the interconnectedness to it all. That's what really kicked off me doing energy work and where I'm at today, was because of my Kundalini Awakening and how that guided me towards Reiki. Finding a community as well too, and people who have gone through what you've gone through, or trying to find somebody who can help guide you, will help you mentally so much. Not feel, one, so much alone, but not feel like you're going crazy either, because I definitely felt like I was going crazy. I felt that I was, you know, these things were hallucinations, things of that nature. You just don't fully understand what's going on, especially like if this is something totally new for you, like it was for me. It's actually a very difficult thing to go through, but at the same time, it was so beautiful. Like, I just remember, like, I was so happy, but at the same time, I was going through some deep shit. It's a really weird feeling. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like you almost know of, like, you're so happy that you feel like you understand now why you were feeling the way that you were, or there's explanation to what's going on around you, and you feel a little bit more in control of it. But then you actually have to face the shit. You got to face the shadows. You got to, you know, but the good thing is you understand that you are in control of it. And then you understand that there's a higher power guiding you. So it's comforting. So guys, those are my tips that I have for you. That is truly what the differences are and what I have found. Now, I'm not an expert in Kundalini. I just have had my experiences, and this is me sharing them basically from what I've experienced, what I've had other people tell me of their experiences, because I've met several souls that have had a Kundalini awakening. But this is a question I get a lot from students, or like when I talk about it with other people, they're like, what is that? You know, because this is not something that is widely talked about, I feel like, unless you're in like the yoga community and you just know about, or if you're into Kundalini yoga, which that does help too. I got into Kundalini yoga, highly recommend. Working with the Kundalini energy in your life can be super transformative, no matter if you're trying to awaken it or like you have awoken it or whatever. Even with just doing yoga or working in Kundalini Reiki, which I have done a little bit of, but I'm not certified in it, on the list of things that I would like to do because of my experience. But there's most definitely a difference between a spiritual awakening and a Kundalini awakening. My biggest thing is, guys, is if you want it to happen, I'm sure it will. You have to set the intention and spirit will guide you to it, but you can't force it. You can't force something that you're not ready for. And the amount of surrender and safeness and trust that you have to have was absolutely intense. Like I had so much trust in it, guys, that it was one of those of, I thought I was gonna die. Like I was trusting this thing with my life pretty much. And I let go. It's almost like you jump off, somebody tells you to jump off a cliff and they'll catch you. Like that's the way it felt for me. But it's ultimately like such a safe feeling at the same time, because it was like, it was God. It was like, it was me. I don't know how else to, like, you have your back. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, guys, other than it's like a beautiful friggin' disaster. It was so beautiful. A hot mess, man. God, that was such a time. Oh, I will never forget that shit. Z will not let me. Anyway, so hopefully this video helped you. It kind of felt all over the place, but it was the best way in which I could kind of give you guys a back and forth explanation of the similarities and the differences, because there is. But like I said, if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. Please don't force it. So if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I will be happy to answer them. I will make a video that actually goes into detail on how it happened and how it's happened the 2 times since. So with that being said, guys, I'm sending you all of my light and all of my love. We'll see ya.